Entry in his journal, December 1903, writes, "Every time I hear anyone speak of the Sacred Heart of Jesus or of the Blessed Sacrament, I feel an indescribable joy. It is as if a wave of precious memories, sweet affections, and joyful hopes swept over my poor person, making me tremble with happiness and filling my soul with tenderness."
At the end of the Mass each Sunday, when I speak a little bit with people who are here, there are people who come from every part of the world, and I'm very pleased to welcome them just a while, to speak to them. And it's true that everybody here feels like at home. Everybody, from South America, Australia, Irish people. For me, it's something I'm still discovering Sunday after Sunday. It's a grace for me. I hope it's also something pleasant for people who come here. I think so.
In June 1966, Paul VI wrote in a message to the 31st General Congregation of the Jesuits, "Mystical understanding came to contemplate him in the heart. It has made devotion to the Sacred Heart the fiery furnace and symbol of Christian devotion and activity for modern people, who value feelings and psychology, and are always oriented towards the metaphysics of love." After the attack on his life in 1981, the first thing Pope John Paul II did on recovering consciousness after surgery was to ask all those around to join him in singing the Litany of the Sacred Heart. Devotion to the Sacred Heart was an integral part of the lives of many of the lay people and religious he beatified or canonized. In the case of at least 35 of them, devotion to the Sacred Heart was the main characteristic of their religious practice. Among these is the first person canonized in the new millennium, Saint Faustina Kowalska. Speaking at the tomb of Saint Faustina in Krakow in June 1997, Pope John Paul said, "Anyone can come here, look at this picture of the merciful Jesus, his heart radiating grace, and hear in the depths of his own soul what Blessed Faustina heard. Fear nothing, I am always with you." Pope John Paul encouraged Jesuits and others to continue promoting enthusiastically the cult of the Heart of Christ. "I desire that you pursue with persevering action the spread of the genuine cult of the Heart of Christ, and that you be always ready to lend effective help to my brothers in the episcopate in order to promote this cult everywhere, taking care to find means most appropriate to present it and put it into practice, so that people of today, with their mentality and their sensitivity, may find in it the true response to their questions and expectations." Pope Benedict XVI, before his election to the papacy, wrote, "The language of the heart encompasses 1,000 local dialects, 1,000,000 accents. Devotion to the Sacred Heart impels the Christian to an inventive charity, a charity ready to explore every dark and treacherous place in search of the lost sheep." Shortly after becoming Pope, in a message to pilgrims, he said, "Practicing devotion to the Sacred Heart of Christ means adoring that heart, which after having loved us to the end, was pierced by a spear, and from high on the cross poured out blood and water, an inexhaustible source of new life." The late Father Pedro Arupe, a native of the Basque country and a former Superior General of the Society of Jesus, had personal experience of some of the great tragedies of the 20th century, both in the East and West. During his student days, he experienced the trauma of the Spanish Civil War, and as a priest was living in Hiroshima, 5 miles from the epicenter of the explosion, the day the atomic bomb fell. Although his community house was structurally damaged, no one was injured. Within hours, he and his companions had organized first aid for the victims. Some years later, shortly before succumbing to the stroke that left him severely incapacitated for the last 9 years of his life, he had this to say: "If you want my advice, I would say to you, after 54 years of living in the Society of Jesus and almost 16 years as its general, that there is a tremendous power latent in this devotion to the heart of Christ. Each one of us should discover it for himself, if he has not already done so, and then, entering deeply into it, apply it to his personal life in whatever way the Lord may suggest and grant. There is here an extraordinary grace that God offers us."